Hello, I'm Jordan and you're not, and this is my review on Curse of Chucky. Now, Curse of Chucky was just released, and there will be spoilers throughout this review, so if you don't want to be spoiled, go away. Alright, so for those of you that have stayed, here's my review. When I was 6 years old, I saw Child's Play 2 on TV, and I loved it. Since then, I've been a major Chucky fan. And Curse of Chucky is really slow, but just the first 40 minutes of it. I watched it twice just to kind of see if I liked it or not. The first time I was almost bored. Like I was just Chucky, do something. And then the second time I watched it, I kind of appreciated what they did and how they kind of advanced the storyline of who these people are and why Chucky is harassing and killing them. So the last half of this movie is a major treat for the old school Child's Play fans, and I'll tell you why later. So, Curse of Chucky was released straight to DVD, and it's low budget, and you can tell, probably because that's why the first 40 minutes Chucky doesn't really do anything. He's there, like the doll is just there in the background, just to show you that this is a Chucky movie. And the first half, it feels like a soap opera. Like, there's a domineering sister named Barbara, or they call her Barbie or Barbara. So, the Chucky doll is sent to Sarah and Nika. Sarah is the mother to Nika and Barbara. And there's something in Sarah's past that she's kind of troubled about. And Nika is paraplegic. She can't walk. And that night, when Nika's asleep, she hears her mom, Sarah, screaming. And she wakes up and she has scissors in her stomach. It looks like she killed herself. And the whole movie pretty much takes place almost in one night. And it's storming. It's like a dark, stormy night. So that's actually pretty cool. So when the rest of the family gets there for, kind of deal with Sarah's business, and they're going to try to get ready for the funeral. Barbara is Nika's sister. She is so controlling of her. She tries to put her in a nursing home. Like, she wants nothing to do with her. She's, ashamed to have her as a sister. And, see, she's also, she has a daughter named Alice. And, Alice takes a liking to Chucky. Pretty much, Alice is like the new Andy Barkley. And, finally, Andy Barkley is mentioned in this movie. Like, in 1998, I was, hoping that Andy would be mentioned in Bride of Chucky. No mention of him. And same with Seed of Chucky. They make no mention of him. They left us hanging there for about at least 15 years. I've waited my whole life to see Andy Barkley being mentioned or returned in a Chucky movie, and we finally get it. I'll explain about that later. So, weird things begin to happen the more Alice has the Chucky doll. Like, she says Chucky talks to her and says terrible things about the family and about Sarah. And that night is when Chucky begins to attack. And there's a scene that just kind of, I don't know, they try to be mysterious and all artsy, like it's an art film, just kind of showing all these people eating chili. Why? Because when it comes to Child's Play, you think of people eating chili. They show close-ups of their mouths for like a minute, and that's more disgusting than seeing people being killed. That's just me. That's just a pet peeve of mine. I don't want to see what goes inside people's mouths. Stop. Don't really care to see that, but I'm okay with blood and guts. That's just me. I'm weird. And Chucky poisoned one of the chilies. So I guess that's kind of why they keep showing it. It tries to be suspenseful in showing who's gonna get killed or who's gonna drop dead because of the poisoned chili. And then Nika looks up. They're watching a home video from way back in the 80s. Back when Sarah was pregnant with Nika, and off to the side you can see Charles Lee Ray. He was an old friend of the family, but he looks like Tommy Wiseau from The Room. Now let's take a moment to think about The Room. The Room is such a great film. But because Tommy Wiseau was such a great... Darn it, this is for Curse of Chucky. I want to review The Room. The Room gets an A+, by the way. Alright, so Nika researches the Chucky doll evidence and about what the history of, Chucky, and she sees that, there's been lots of Chucky attacks at, Kent Military and Hackensack, New Jersey, and Chicago, all the previous, places that Chucky's been from all the previous Child's Play films, which is a nice little touch. That actually makes it feel like an actual sequel. And that's when, Chucky and Nika pretty much start to duke it out. And then Chucky reveals something awesome. They show a flashback of Charles Lee Ray, played by Brad Dourif, and how he was obsessed with Sarah, the mother, and how he killed Sarah's husband, which was Nika's dad. That's why, Nika's dad was never around. And, he's like obsessed with Sarah. They show that he ties her up and gets her all these flowers. And why would Chucky be doing this, by the way, if he was supposed to be with Tiffany, Jennifer Tilly from, Bride of Chucky? So Charles Lee Ray was a ladies' man, I guess. He was obsessing over Sarah, but he was going after Tiffany. Yeah. And then something amazingly awesome that gave me chills. They show, like, when the police get there to Sarah's house, Charles Lee Ray is on the run. And it shows that leads right into the original Child's Play, why he was running from Chris Sarandon's character, Mike Norris. That was amazing. I love that scene. I could watch that over and over because I was, Chucky's explaining this to Nika, and they're showing it like in a flashback form. It's in black and white, and they're showing him, recite the Chucky chant and how he got into that doll from the very original. Even though there is an inconsistency about why there's no mention of Eddie Caputo, because Eddie Caputo was off to the side there, like he was waiting for Chucky, and there was like no mention or showing that Charles Lee Ray called Eddie to be there. But other than that, I love that scene. So in the end, Nika is kind of blamed for Chucky's madness and Chucky's killing. But then the police officer is calling someone mysterious that we don't know who it is, and he's stealing the Chucky doll. And then Tiffany shows up. Tiffany from the Bride of Chucky, yay! Well, it's not really this Tiffany, but it is Jennifer Tilly. I love Tiffany. She's so pretty. She's mine. You can't have her. Tiffany. And so we see that Tiffany was helping Chucky this whole time, she's the one that sent him to, Sarah's house, or Nika's house. And the house is really gothic. Like, the first half, it does seem really gothic, and it tries to be like a soap opera. That's actually kind of a cool effect. It feels like Dark Shadows. And then at the very end, after the end credits, we finally get the return of Andy Barclay, played by Alex Vincent. Now, I've heard a lot of people say that it was boring or bland, but I loved it. I think it was finally a nice touch to actually get, him back to play Andy Barclay. But he is kind of scruffy, kind of scraggly looking, but I guess that's to show that, Andy has grown. And he does mention his mom, so, in the 2 and 3, they mention that his mom's like in an insane asylum, so his mom is finally out of the insane asylum, and apparently she's dating Mike Norris, Chris Sarandon's character from the original Child's Play. So, in the end, they all kind of have a happy ending, and eventually maybe Nika will get out of the insane asylum. And then, Andy knows that, Chucky is there. Chucky had himself delivered to Andy somehow, which probably, Tiffany helped to get him there. And then, Andy pulls out a shotgun. He's like, play with this. And he shoots Chucky. That was awesome. However, the main ending is really, really confusing. Like, Chucky sees Alice, the little girl that he was playing with, and, he says, we're going to play Hide the Soul like he did to Andy and Tyler from Child's Play 3. And he starts doing the Chucky chant. He kind of does it quietly. I mean, I wanted to see the Chucky chant, but it wasn't as good as I was hoping. He does it, give me the power I beg of you. And, like, he's going to try to turn himself into Alice or something. Then Alice's grandma wakes up and she's tied up, and then it just ends there. That's actually kind of confusing. Hopefully, if they make a Child's Play 7 or some kind of Curse of Chucky, maybe they'll hopefully explain that. So it was kind of like the ending to Saw 3D. They made it really quick and just kind of like, meh. So in all, I would probably give this movie a B. Alright, so this is probably, I think this is my 4th video for my countdown to Halloween 2013. And I hope you check out Curse of Chucky if you're a big Chucky fan. And if you're, sorry, I had a burp. And if you're bored by the first 40 minutes, well, what are you going to do? You can always fast forward through it, then get to the part where Chucky starts doing his thing.